No wonder I went to Randy.
I am fucking Buster's father, okay? And I will handle anything. You fucking hear me? I will handle anything that needs handling.
Since when? Huh? You've been telling me you're gonna handle Paul's situation for years.
Buster Murdaugh has mostly avoided the spotlight since his father's murder conviction, but questions still loom. Did Buster know more than he let on, and did he truly believe his father was innocent? Here's what we know. Some cases leave true crime fanatics scratching their heads for years.
Did Paul use your identification?
Yes.
Did that frustrate you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Cheated on paper. Kick my ass out. Oh, nobody knows except Brooklyn.
Do you recognize your dad's voice?
I do.
If you listen to it, would you be able to tell the jury whether it's I or they?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd like to pull up Exhibit 153, the clip.
Sit on top of the it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
What'd your dad say?
Said they did him so bad.
Was that the first time you'd heard him say they did him so bad?
No, sir.
When was the first time you heard him say they did him so bad?
First time I heard him say that was the night that I went down to Moselle, the night of June the 7th.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head,
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. Episode 5 may be the best yet in dramatizing the family dynamics of the whole family. Not just Alex and Paul, not just Alec and Maggie, but this time Buster is in the mix too. And now we see Buster and Paul, how they interacted in much more detail, as well as the unraveling of Paul's relationship with his father, and also Maggie's relationship with her powerful but dodgy husband. But before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind, this is the 5th review, I think, of the Hulu series. If you're interested in watching the other 4, I'll put links to those in the description. Meanwhile, if you're finding this analysis worthwhile, please do hit the thanks button. And thank you to Sam Jacobs for doing that. Sam writes, "These are my favorite TCRS and what got me addicted. I highly recommend the books on Patreon as well. You get to hear them in Nick's voice, plus commentary after each chapter." Thanks, Sam. And then there's also this from Julie. Thanks very much for that. And let's get started. In episode 5, we see that somehow Buster manages to remain in his father's good graces, and I think one can say the same thing in the opposite way, that somehow Alec stays in the good graces of Buster, because even today Buster maintains that he believes his father is innocent. And this is despite virtually everything starting to unravel. Probably the straw that starts to break the camel's back with Alec is when Randolph tells Alex that he's giving the managing partner position to Randy. This is quite a humiliating and infuriating, I guess, experience for the middle son.
I'm sorry.
This whole boat crash mess has just been dragging at you. Everyone can see it.
Yeah, well, gonna get it sorted.
Randy is going to take managing partner.
You can see why episode 5 would have been a much better candidate for the slow burn theme we discussed in the previous analysis. Apple of the eye Buster, we discover, is struggling with a secret crisis of his own. That's a matter of fact. The Wall Street Journal reported in September 2021 that court documents showed that Buster was expelled from the University of South Carolina School of Law in 2019. That news only came out in 2021, about 3 months after his mother and brother were murdered by Buster's father. So that's another aspect where Hulu seems to take dramatic license, fiddling with the chronology, fiddling with the timeline. Of course, if the public found out about Buster's expulsion in 2021, apparently for plagiarism, Buster would have found out immediately when it happened, and that would have added to the stress and crisis facing the Murdaughs in the lead up to the murders. Alec Murdaugh tried to use his influence apparently to get Buster readmitted, paying a prominent lawyer $60,000 to make that happen, once again using funds stolen from clients. In the end, Buster wasn't readmitted, and I don't think he's ever returned to law school. He never became a lawyer. In a recent article dated October 20th, 2025, that's barely 9 days ago, according to People magazine, Buster is yet to return to law school. It is not known whether he is currently employed. Episode 5 portrays how the unraveling Murdaugh clan starts to be felt by the patriarch Randolph. You've seen the clip where he basically excludes his son from the sort of legacy. And, we see what he says, we see what he does, and also how Alex's brother Randy increasingly starts to weigh in on things. This is because Maggie, faced with a weird kind of paralysis from Alex, turns to his older brother, for help. And this really pisses off Alec. As far as he's concerned, it crosses a line.
Look at you. What kind of man would let this happen to his family?
And Maggie is right to say that. I mean, what kind of man ultimately is Alec Murdaugh? And there's also a point where she says, "You goddamn right, I complain."
I'm the only one keeping this family together.
All you fucking do is you just sit there and you just blame and you dish it out and you fucking moan and you groan and you judge.
You're goddamn right, I complain.
There's another scene dramatized where Alex is drunk or high or both, and while barely conscious, Maggie picks up his phone and activates a tracking app.
Oh, fuck, man. Baby, come and sit down next to me, eh? Come on, baby. Don't get big nut. Look at it. Oh, where's my phone?
But there's a way to limit some tracking features.
Majority of the time when you add a new app to your phone, it asks you, do you want to allow location services? Do you want to allow it all the time, only while using the app, or never? You can also go into your own settings and change those location services.
Now, as far as I know, this isn't a matter of fact. Maggie's phone was recovered, and I think if it had a tracking app, they would have known about it. What we do know is that Buster had a tracking app on his phone, which is how Maggie's phone was found to begin with. In other words, Buster had a tracking app and it was synced to Maggie's phone. So coming back to the original question, what is the reason, what is the last straw for Maggie? And so in the dramatization, there are a few straws that seem to weigh on Maggie. Firstly, it's the fact that Alec just can't seem to get the Mallory Beach monkey off their back, something that Maggie evidently expects him to do, but he simply isn't able to. I mean, he is dealing with Mark Tinsley, a lawyer who's a lot like him, I guess, in his prime, tenacious, persistent, a legal terrier that is just not going to let go. Then when Buster finds himself in a predicament, Alec can't seem to do anything about that either. And whether it's Stephen Smith or Buster's expulsion, at the end of the day, all the money and power in the world wasn't able to turn water into wine, even if Murdaugh blood was thicker than water. And maybe it wasn't. In the end, the final straw for Maggie happens when, according to the dramatization, when she follows Alec to a motel using the Find Your Phone app to track her husband. And she finds that he's cheating on him with a sex worker.
Alex Murdaugh being one of my clients.
Now, it's unlikely that Lindsay Edwards is the woman that is dramatized or the woman that Maggie supposedly caught Alec with. Because think about it, Buster was expelled in 2019, and this had to have happened after that, right? Well, according to the chronology, an incident with a former sex worker who was 20 years old at the time happened about 4 or 5 years prior to that, around about 2015. According to the New York Post, you could see it in his eyes. Maybe it was the cocaine and everything. His pupils got so much bigger to the point that his eyes were almost solid black. And that's when Murdaugh got dangerously aggressive to the point where I couldn't breathe, Edwards claimed. Then she says, after he was done, I got up and ran out as fast as possible, even completely naked. So can you see that this does seem to be the traumatization that they are touching on? But Edwards' claims have not been verified as far as I know. The New York Post says they weren't able to verify them, and Alex's infidelity, though rumored, was not allowed to be brought up at his trial either. So although it's not a matter of fact that Maggie witnessed this, as it's dramatized in the series, in fact it's more likely that she didn't witness it. It appears to be a fact that it happened, and more particularly the aggressiveness we see not just against Maggie but Paul as well. And at one point Murdaugh apparently just knocks his son over. That is likely to have happened. I'm talking about just the aggressiveness, especially if we consider the ultra-violent way both Paul and Maggie were ultimately dispatched by Alec. We also see Murdaugh being very confrontational and kind of dangerously angry with Maggie. And so at the end of the day, I do think it was a combination of things that got to Maggie. It was Alec becoming increasingly stressed, distracted, dissociated, triggered, angry, and addicted. It was his preoccupation with financial wheelings and dealings that were tangling him up in webs of deceit. It was Alec falling out of favor with his father and to some extent with his firm. It was Maggie not being able to use her own credit card. And along with this, Alec was becoming more and more addicted to pills and basically no longer acting like a decent human being anymore. Not a husband, not a father, not even a lawyer.
Okay?
What? Well, Mom's going to edit stuff.
Max, what? Right now?
This is what you want.
Max, come on. Listen.
There, that's what you want.
Hey, you know what? Fine. Just drive safe, okay?
While we don't know for sure exactly what the explosive cocktail was that got Maggie to turn tail and leave, we do know that she did. We do know that she knew a lot of compromising information about Alec, but credit to her, she did leave. But that was also a dangerous move because she revealed herself to be his enemy at a very crucial time, which is why Alec had to lure her back. Can anyone remember what ruse he came up with to do that? Well, I'm not going to take it further than that. Look out for the next episode in the JonBenet Ramsey series dealing with Santa Bear. By the way, I've also published my very first TCRS newsletter. It's available on Patreon. About half of it is free for anyone to read, as far as I know. There's some interesting behind-the-scenes footage of Perugia, which is where I was this time last year, so check that out. If you want to join Patreon, it's $3 for the month. You get just access to everyday blogs. There are over 6,000 already. In any event, thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.